Hi, this is Mr. Nathan from the Literacy Lab. Today we'll be reading the fourth and final chapter of The Jamestown Colony Disaster by Marcia Amiden listed. Chapter 4. Jamestown Survives. In the years following the First Anglo-Poutine War, relationships between the English settlers and the American Indians did not improve. The English had temporarily left settlements far away from the Jamestown fort. But their leaders felt that the 1622 attack had given the settlers the right to retaliate. They felt that they should no longer try to negotiate with the Powhatan at all. In the fall of 1622, the colonists launched the Second Anglo-Poutine War. They attacked villages. They burned or stole the corn crops. During what was supposed to be a peace negotiation, the English offered poison drinks to a group of Opochenekino's delegates. This was supposedly to toast the treaty. As the delegates became deathly ill from the poison, the settlers shot them. Settlers continued to attack Powhatan villages. They struck during harvest times. That way they could carry away corn and grain afterward. But they left just enough for the Powhatan to replant for the next year. This maintained a source of food for the settlers. The English kept the war going for another 10 years. The English took more and more land. Farms spread up and down the James River and beyond. Trade in tobacco and slaves boomed. This brought money to the colony. Nearly 8,000 settlers lived in and around Jamestown. Here we have a caption for this image. Opochenekino and his tribe continued trying to stop the settlers from stealing their land and food. Even after the war, the English took more land. This threatened the uneasy peace with the people of Sinakamoko, led by Chief Opochenekino. On April 18, 1644, the Powhatan led one final attack on the settlers in the Third Anglo-Poutine War. More than 400 settlers died, but the settlers killed most of the Powhatan. After Opochenekino was captured and killed, the war ended with a peace treaty. His successor, Nekotowins, agreed to the terms. The treaty forced the Powhatan to leave certain areas for the English. They could live only on the north side of the York River. Settlements around Jamestown continued to grow. Middle Plantation was founded in 1633. It became the capital of the Virginia colony in 1699 and was renamed Williamsburg. The English were now firmly established in the New World. The Sinakamoko was changing. Years of discrimination and other poor treatment made it hard for the American Indians to survive. But many descendants of the Powhatan Confederacy still live in Virginia, including members of the Pamunkey and Mattapony tribes. This caption says, tobacco crops were very successful in Jamestown. And here we have a map comparing the population change in Virginia. We have settlements in 1607, with blue dots representing the American Indians, and orange dots representing the English, which is a single settlement at Jamestown. Then settlements in 1675, almost 70 years later, we see a lot of orange dots showing all the English settlement with fewer American Indian populations. The English had made many poor decisions when they started the Jamestown colony. Poor planning, their attitude about the inferiority of American Indians, and their aggressive behavior led to starvation and war. Often the fate of Jamestown and the Virginia colony hung by a thread. Thousands of people, both English and American Indian, died from starvation and conflict. But despite disasters of their own making, the English established a firm foothold in Jamestown and all of Virginia. They helped make the 13 colonies that would become the United States of America. Here we see recreations of English and Powhatan homes at historic Jamestown that show what the colony may have looked like. At the end of the book, we have a cause and effect chart with causes on the left and the effects on the right. Our first cause, 35 of the original settlers were considered gentlemen. Effect, the gentlemen were not used to having to work. They refused to spend time planting crops or storing food. Cause, trade negotiations between John Smith and Chief Powhatan were unsuccessful, but the settlers were getting desperate for food. Effect, Smith decided to take food from the Powhatan by force. The Jamestown settlers raided Powhatan villages, killing some of the people. Cause: George Percy became the new leader of Jamestown. He was unable to negotiate with the Powhatan for food. Effect: in the winter of 1609 to 1610, settlers faced an extreme lack of food. This was called a starving time. Cause: as the settlers expanded their territory, the Powhatan felt that their way of life was threatened. Effect: the Powhatan launched the massacre of 1622, killing 347 settlers and destroying crops. Cause: the settlers' numbers continued to grow as the tobacco crops and slave trade boomed. Effect: with the increase in numbers, settlers eventually wiped out most of the Powhatan people in wars. A 1644 treaty restricted the Powhatan to areas on the north side of the York River. Here we have a glossary that we can use to see any words that we don't know. Colony: a place that is under the control of another country, usually far away, and settled by people from that country. Confederacy: a group of people or nations joined together for common support. Delegate: a person selected to represent a group. Drought: a period of time without enough rainfall. Hostile: unfriendly or harsh. Massacre: a deliberate and violent killing of many people. Negotiation: a discussion with the goal of reaching an agreement. Plantation: an estate where crops such as tobacco, sugar, and cotton are grown by laborers or slaves who live on that estate. All of these paragraphs show us where the author got their information. We see source notes, selected bibliography, and further information. These two show where the author got their information and specifically reference where that is. Further information tells us places we could go if we wanted to learn more. So we see some books we could read and websites we could visit. Some websites could be Historic Jamestown, or the Jamestown Settlement and Yorktown Victory Center. And National Geographic Kids has a segment on the trail of Captain John Smith. Remember, the index shows us where specific words were in the book. So if we wanted to learn more about John Smith, we go to page 8, or pages 15 to 19, or 23. Or maybe we want to learn more about Thomas Gates. You could see him on page 23 or 24 to 25. Thanks for reading the Jamestown Colony Disaster with me. We'll see you next time.